Hey guys, I've been playing Guardian for about 69 years now, so I thought it would be a good idea to make a little guide for you. So the main focus of the video will be Guardian's advanced techniques, but I'll start off with the basics for now. For those of you who might not know, Guardian's stats are actually pretty below average in most aspects, but it makes up for this flaw with its great abilities. Guardian's melee damage is 5.0, which is below average. Its armor is interestingly one of the lowest in the game with 4.5. It has diamond leggings and boots, but don't let that confuse you. The knockback taken is 125%, which is actually fairly heavy. This can be used in your advantage when someone tries to push you away to break your combos. Lastly, Guardian's regeneration rate is 0.25, which is common, but still a bit below average. So Guardian's first move is Whirlpool Axe, and this move is very similar to Iron Hook from Iron Golem, but the only difference is that it pulls you a bit less and does more damage. So you can use it in different situations than Iron Golem would. The main purpose of this move is to either snipe people from very far away, sort of like how zombie arrows would do it, or if you're close enough to people, you can combo them by throwing an axe and meleeing them or doing another move. You have to be careful with this move because it has a very small hitbox, so it could be challenging to hit compared to something like, say, Creeper's Sulfur Bomb. But it's also very fast, which makes it easier to hit people from far away. So it balances out. The main thing about this move that people like to talk about is that it has true damage. What that is it's basically, it ignores armor. So, let's say your move is 4 damage. Now you're doing 4 damage all the time, no matter what mob it is. You'll do the same damage to a chicken as you do to an Iron Golem, and it makes Guardian very, very powerful. In the current update, Guardian's Whirlpool Axe deals 4 damage, which is equivalent to 2 hearts of damage to every mob. The next move in Guardian's arsenal is its recovery move, Water Splash. Water Splash is a very versatile move that supports many different playstyles, and even has a few advanced techniques, which I'll go over later in the video. This move consists of 2 parts. The first part of Water Splash simply brings you upwards a small distance. You can't aim which direction you go to under normal circumstances, but the second part of Water Splash is the main part, and it's executed by right-clicking a second time. And this cast will send you flying in the direction you're facing with a high velocity. After activating the move, falling on the ground near an enemy will damage it, more or less, depending on how close you are to its body. The damage can be anywhere from 1 to 12 damage, but anywhere past 8 is quite rare in an actual game. In fact, I'm not sure I ever got 12 without the help of Target Laser. Something very useful to keep in mind is that Water Splash actually has something called Super Armor. This means certain abilities and melee damage will still hurt Guardian while it uses the move, but will not knock it back. However, it's also important to note that certain moves like Spin Web, Blizzard, and Bone Rush still stop Water Splash. Next up is Guardian's main gimmick, Target Laser. This move boosts Guardian's bad stats and makes it a lot more deadly. Target Laser activates on the closest enemy as long as you're grounded. So, an enemy hit by laser will stay under the effects until it moves out of the laser's radius, or stays in for too long. The enemy also takes 2 more damage from both melee and Whirlpool Axe. Whirlpool Axe's boost is especially significant since it adds 2 true damage, which is an extra heart. Technically, Water Splash deals more damage as well, but it isn't a good practice to use Water Splash after Target Laser, since in most cases you might move too far away from the enemy, which breaks your laser. When the laser breaks, the enemy will take anywhere from 3 to 6 damage, and to deal more damage with a laser break, you need to keep the enemy in your laser for more time. Similarly to moves like Death Grasp and Chicken Missile, Target Laser can have its cooldown removed if the enemy is killed while under the effects of Target Laser. But if the enemy is killed by a laser break, there's no reset, so keep away from that. Okay, Guardian Smash Crystal is pretty cool, but if you're a true competitive player, you should just jump off a cliff before using the Smash, because let's face it, Smash Crystals are a lame mechanic. If for whatever reason you decide to use it, use the smash near the target players and watch them be sucked into a deadly whirlpool. You can use abilities like Whirlpool Axe to keep your enemies from escaping. Now it's time for the advanced techniques. Most of Guardian's advanced tech is actually related to Water Splash. There are some other things like Whirlpool Axe bouncing, but it's not very useful. Splash cancelling is a very useful tech that can drastically improve Guardian gameplay. Okay guys, I made this graph in a very prestigious program for you. So as you can see, this is a normal water splash. And this first step is the activation upwards. And then you choose a direction where you want to face, and you go there. So that's a normal one, pretty easy. And this is a splash cancel. So what you do is you activate it, but before it reaches the top, you can cancel it with a jump, a double jump. So you activate Water Splash, you quickly cancel it with a double jump, and then you right click again in the direction you're facing. And what happens is you end up going even further in a faster time, because what you're doing is you're canceling the first Water Splash animation and taking the velocity of your double jump instead. But it still works. So basically, you use a move, then you double jump, cancel, then you Water Splash again. Simple. Here's a nice little example of the difference between speed and distance when splash canceling on the left and no tech on the right. Here's an example of Water Splash when viewed from the side. You might notice that the Guardian's movement look very fluid when performing this technique. This is because the first cast is replaced by double jump in any direction. And since it looks like a double jump, you can easily trick people into thinking you didn't use Water Splash. The only thing giving it away is the particles, but not everyone plays with those. Being able to change the direction of the first cast by cancelling is also really nice if you want to mix up your movement options. Just look at how linear the regular Water Splash looks in comparison. For those of you who are familiar with triple jumping, one of the best ways to splash cancel is to actually use your third jump to splash cancel instead. And finally, Water Splash is also able to be cancelled on the second cast. You can use this technique to your advantage just before you hit the ground by changing direction. Or you can fake out an enemy running towards you. Because of SSM's weird physics, Water Splash can deal damage to people if you go near a ledge, even if you don't touch the ground. You can use this to get quick damage on campers without actually landing on their platform. Also, if you hit a platform for a split second or just grave the edge, you can actually delay the splash's damage until you hit the ground a second time. Here's a few basic combos you can try out with Guardian. Keep in mind that under normal circumstances, you will need to improvise, mix up your moves, and link them in different ways to create a successful combo. These first two combos are a good way to link all of your moves together, as long as you weren't waiting for a cooldown. The second one uses target laser for more damage, but it's harder to pull off. I put this simple combo in here to show off that it's actually possible to Whirlpool Axe someone, then melee them in the air to send them even further behind you, if timed correctly. This next one isn't very practical and may require some setup, but it's quite hilarious when it actually works. The first cast of Water Splash pulls the enemy off stage, and slam hits them when they try to jump back. The last part of this guide will focus on some Guardian's notable matchups. This matchup chart is my own opinion, but please do keep in mind that I'm a very experienced Guardian player. Feel free to debate any matchup in the comments though. So Guardian has a positive matchup spread overall, but loses to a lot of common higher tier kits. Do keep in mind that these matchups are still winnable, just not in its favor. Guardian's best top tier matchup is against ranged kits, such as Skeleton and Zombie. Against most skeletons and zombies, a good Guardian player will have no issues dealing with these kits. Of course, high level skeletons specifically will give Guardian a hard time at high level play. This is because arrows hurt a lot, and the only viable approach option is to use Water Splash, which leaves you vulnerable to Bone Explosion Gimps. Nonetheless, Guardian's quick damage output in combination with its mobility and super armor allows it to compete with these two kits. Its strongest matchup in general is definitely Sheep. None of Sheep's projectiles can beat Water Splash's super armor, and Guardian can abuse this to catch running Sheeps with ease. Since Guardian's recovery can go high vertically, Sheep has no chance at stalling. Whirlpool Axe is also very effective against Sheep. Guardian has 7 negative matchups, mostly against top tier kits, so no big surprises here. One weird matchup though is Guardian vs Skeleton Horse. Bone Rush can easily gimp Guardian since it completely ignores his super armor. On many smaller maps, the only thing Guardian can safely do is spam Whirlpool Axe at a distance, which isn't fun. Lastly, I'll talk about why I think Creeper is Guardian's worst matchup. Guardian's main playstyle is a mix between ranged and melee. His strengths come from linking projectiles to melee combos. Unfortunately, or fortunately if you main Creeper, Lightning Shield completely shuts down Guardian's best options, which means Guardian's only option is to either focus on projectile spam or melee combos. Projectile spam doesn't really work well though, because Whirlpool Axe brings the opponent closer to you, and Creeper also has a very high regen rate, which makes passive play very slow. The best option overall is to melee Creeper. The problem with this is Target Laser activates Lightning Shield after it breaks, so you can only do this for a short amount of time, and without Target Laser, Guardian stats are completely outclassed. To add, Creeper can also use Sulfur Bomb freely. That's the end of the Guardian guide, folks. Now go out there and hit some true damage.